doing things with you privately is different than doing things publicly. So, like, in my mind, it's like, yeah, we're kissing in private areas and we're kissing under the covers. No one's looking at us. That's like more private and intimate.
This episode was boring. Am I the only one who noticed? I know they tried to sort of involve a game and they opened the hideaway. Suddenly, back to back, they're opening the hideaway when we haven't had the hideaway open all along. Is it because there were no couples that were set? Or maybe Ace asked for the hideaway to be open because he wanted to ask Shirley to be exclusive. I don't quite get it. And the Huda and Chris situation, I don't understand how Huda is pretending to play ignorant and is behaving as though she doesn't understand. Because had tables been turned, Hurricane Huda would have come out. Had tables been turned, had Chris been the one in the position that she's in, she would have kicked off. So I don't get it. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island USA, Season 7, Episode 33. So the mood in the villa is low because Taylor's gone. It seems like he was the goofball of the bunch. Obviously, there's no tears this time like when Nick left. I think it's because they know that it's less than a week left before they all leave the villa. You have Nick and Olandria having a conversation. Nick is just checking in with Olandria that how do you feel now that Taylor's gone? And so for Olandria to say he's not a bad person, it's just that we didn't work out. It's like, where was this conversation? I would have loved a conversation between Olandria and Taylor before he left. Maybe Taylor felt he didn't need a conversation, but I would have loved a conversation where they addressed the issues. That way, as Taylor and Clark go into the real world, people understand that things were not as bad as they appear to be. Because most of the times you always hear people say, oh, but I apologize, but I did this to make amends, and it's never shown. So just as the fallouts are shown, I wish production would actually show us the relationships being mended. You have Ace. Ace is feeling some type of way because, you know, Taylor was his homie. He was his best friend in the villa. So Shirley's telling him, you know, if you want, you can cry. I'm here. I'll cry with you. I'll console you. So don't feel like you need to be strong just for me. And he is saying it seems unreal at the moment because he's someone who was my closest friend. I expected us to make it to the very end. And it's like, yeah, you expected it to make it to the very end, but the thing is, he was true to himself. He followed his heart instead of following popularity. If you had followed your heart and gone with Coco, chances are you'd be in the same boat as what? As Taylor. And then there was this conversation that I heard, not only with Olandria and Nick, but also with Shirley and Ace, where they were saying, oh, we're very grateful that America is riding with us and they voted for us. And it's like, seriously, is your relationship based on what the viewers think, or is your relationship based on an emotional connection? Because why should what we think as viewers affect whether or not your relationship is strong enough to last in the real world, unless you're putting on a performance? You had Huda and Chris. Huda and Chris are still in a very bad place. I get where Chris is coming from, and I don't quite buy Huda's excuse, because Huda is saying that, oh, you know, last time I was very much with all the PDA and stuff and things didn't work out, so I'm trying a different approach. And it's like, I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think she enjoys the benefits of being in bed with him and whatever they do in bed, but she doesn't yet appreciate him as a person to be in a connection and a relationship with, to kiss in public, because it doesn't make sense. If you're waiting until you've pulled the duvet over your head so that you can kiss someone or make out with them or do whatever else you're doing, and then you're in a room full of people, and then you turn around and say, oh, but what's happening is I don't want PDA, I just want to keep... No, if you're going to keep this and nurture it and make sure that it grows, then stop all physical contact. As I said in my last episode, stop any physical form of affection or intimacy and wait until you've built the foundation, if that is what you're aiming for. You can't say you're trying to do things differently, but you're still being physically intimate in bed, because you're doing the same thing with Jeremiah. So I'm not buying her excuse. I get Chris's frustration, I really do. So Huda then went and had a conversation with Brian and was trying to sort of make herself the victim, in my opinion, because she was trying to say, oh, I'm trying to start things anew, I'm trying to do things differently because last time it didn't work out. And it's like, this is why I said she needed to go to therapy. Yes, I know she's upset that her friend Taylor, someone who picked her up when she was down after the whole Jeremiah situation, is gone. she needs to be honest with herself. Does she feel like she's ready emotionally for a man like Chris? If not, then she needs to go home. She needs to go home, work on herself, work on repairing the damage from past relationships, and then take it from there. On his part, Chris was left dumbfounded. So he was just sat there. And then you have Mr. I know everything. Ace woke up and sort of try and be the counselor. And it's like, when did we go from competing for Shirley to suddenly we are friends whereby we are confiding in one another? I would have preferred anyone else, Nick included, to go there instead of having Ace go there. Ace is trying to put on a persona. He's trying to put on an act. And so I'm not buying whether or not it's genuine, because at the end of the day, he was hypercritical of Huda's first relationship. So he's not the person to be giving advice as far as I'm concerned. You then have the Islanders get ready for the night. Obviously, they were all saying there's no pillow fight because Taylor's gone. You have the girls are just talking about the fact that Clark is gone. They will miss her. She was a great girl. And Huda then starts bringing up her situation with Chris. And I like that Amaya called her out and said, how would you feel if you were in a couple with a guy and the guy kept making out with you in bed, and then when you're in public, when you try to kiss him, he refuses? How would you feel? I didn't hear an answer from Huda there, because this is exactly what Chris is saying, that what you're doing to me doesn't seem fair. Take my emotions as well, my feelings as well, into consideration before you make such decisions. Ace was speaking to Brian and saying he's going to miss Taylor. Taylor was his ride or die. It's like, good for you. Anyway, all the Islanders go to sleep. It's surprising that there's only like 6 people left now. Well, 6 couples. In the morning, the Islanders wake up. Obviously, the mood is low because Taylor's gone. I'm going to keep repeating that. And also, with Huda and Chris at loggerheads, it's also a bit tense. So Ace does this routine where he's trying to wake people up with pots. He ends up waking Nick with pots, because I think Nick was not waking up for some reason. I don't know what he was doing all night, because normally he's up with the guys. I don't know whether he just wanted time out and was feeling sorry for himself, because his best mate has gone from the villa. And the boys make breakfast as per usual, which they bring up to the girls. And so it's just people hanging around and just waiting, I think, for the show to end at this point, because there was really not that many conversations taking place. You have Shirley and Ace sit down for a chat. They are just talking about their connection and where they stand. I think, sadly for Ace, he's gained a certain reputation because of the way he tried to control everything and make sure he controlled the narrative when producers are also have their storyline. And so his storyline and the storyline from the producers haven't matched, and this is why I think a lot of fans are sort of against him. Nick sits down for a chat with Ace, and they're just reminiscing about the fact that Taylor's gone. They're talking about their connections. I think Nick was sent by production to speak to Ace. I think they wanted a conversation after Taylor's left, and Nick is saying he's in this space whereby he's open to exploring his connection with Olandria. The impression that I get from people like Nick and Olandria and Iris and Pepe is they really liked each other. There was a spark there, but they chose to sort of put friendships above everything else. So they chose to be loyal to the person they were in a coupling with. And not only that, they chose to be loyal to the friend that they had who was seeing the other person. Because when you have people just jump from, being friends to suddenly they're being romantic, Iris and Pepe, we saw they were physically intimate, it makes you question, did they always like one another, or is it as a result of this? So Iris is trying to find out whether Nick is ready to sort of continue with that. And he says, yeah, he's ready to continue, because if they're cuddling in bed, if they're holding hands, that means, they've gone past friendship, and hopefully it works out for them. It seems like he's settled down. It seems like Olandria sort of calms him down, which is good for him. Olandria was having a conversation with Shirley, and then they were joined by Amaya. I didn't understand that comment that Amaya made. I don't know whether production told her to go and say that, because it was out of the blue. We've never heard her sort of question her decision to pick Brian. So it makes me question whether production told her to do that because of the comments that Zach is making, because Zach did do a TikTok live where he spoke about, Sierra leaving, and I also understand he did another conversation where he spoke about the fact that some of the stuff that Amaya said to him that she was apologizing for was edited out. So it was very random to see that conversation and to hear Amaya saying, I don't want to put down anybody else. And it's like, Well, we were told you and Zach were finished, and at the end of the day, there was nothing there between you and Elon. Elon was just looking for a safe option to stay in the villa. So, why do you feel the need to justify who you chose to be in a couple with? I didn't get that. You have Huda come and pull Amaya for a chat, and you have Brian having a chat with Chris. And it's like this conversation is dragging. It really is dragging. I don't know why we need to continue to hear this. Is it because there's nothing else to talk about in the villa? At the end of the day, Huda needs to understand she's been told. How would you feel if this was happening to you? I've always said it that Huda comes across as selfish a bit at times and a bit self-centered, in the sense that if Chris had been doing what she's doing, she would have kicked off big time. But Chris is just expressing himself calmly. And so for her to continue to insist that, oh, after the fallout with Jeremiah, I don't want to repeat. We understand you don't want to repeat the same mistakes, but you have to compromise with your current partner because he has nothing to do with Jeremiah. If you still want to heal, if you want to avoid mistakes, go home, go to therapy, heal, and then come back and you and Chris can pick up. Anyway, they receive a text message. Well, Olandria receives a text message that reads, Islanders, it's time to get hot and wet in today's couples challenge. Viva Las Villa. I actually think Viva La Villa was actually one of the cleaner games we've seen on Love Island, and the Islanders did very well. So you had couples dressed in their individual colors, and then they would come down the slide individually. They would go on a surfboard, and then they would go on a slide down, and then go into a little puddle that they would make out in. So first up we had Pepe and Iris. They did very well. They were in yellow. They looked very cute, and they have very good chemistry with one another, which is amazing to see. They were followed by Amaya and Brian. They were in purple. They did very well as well. Amaya went all out. She went all out. And the twerking and stuff, she did way too much, but that was her guy. So it is what it is. Then we had Shirley and Ace. Shirley and Ace as well did. Everyone was trying to outperform the other. That's the impression that I got, that every couple was trying to outperform the next couple. We had Huda and Chris. They did very well. They put aside their differences for the clash that they have, and they decided to focus on winning, because at the end of the day, according to Chris, winning was the most important thing. The last couple down the slide was Olandria and Nick. Olandria and Nick seem to have great chemistry. They seem to really get along. They seem to really like one another, which is something that I didn't expect, but hey, it is what it is. All the couples did very well. There was no awkwardness. There was no tension. Everybody seemed to enjoy the company of the person that they were with. So I love it for them. The Islanders then came back to the villa, got ready for the night. And so we had, everyone was nervous because there's still tension in the villa. There's the fact that, people are, yes, they're in their couples, but you've had a couple dumps. Everyone knows they're coming to the end and they're worried, are we going to be dumped next? So the girls and the guys came out, went into their groups. You had Nick sit down for a conversation with Ace, and he was discussing his connection with Olandria. He says, she makes him giddy. He really likes her, and he sees something growing with her. I love that for him. If it works, amazing. What I think Nick and Olandria really like one another as people, and I think they did have a spark. But out of respect for their partners, this is why they shut it down, because they didn't want to do anything that was going to jeopardize their couples at that time. And now that their partners are, Taylor has found himself a new person, Sierra has been dumped, they are now willing to give it a chance, because even if they were faking, they would have to be very good actors to perform the way they are. So you have Olandria sitting across the courtyard with Shirley, and she says she's enjoying her time with Nick. He makes her giddy, he makes her nervous, and she really likes getting to know him. I think they'll make a cute couple. I think they will, as long as they're genuine and they continue to sort of go at their own pace and they don't allow anybody else to sort of push them to sort of explore and become more serious than they are. So I can't wait to see what happens with the two of them. You have Iris and Pepe. Iris and Pepe are another couple that has come out of left field. They never expected to be a romantic couple, but there's something about the two of them that just calms each other down, that just mellows each other, and they just focus on who they are as a team. So I love that for them. They constantly kissing, they're constantly touching. And I think if I were to compare Pepe to CJ, I would want Iris to be with Pepe, because at the end of the day, I think he's a better match for her as compared to her being with TJ. I think TJ isn't it, something about him is a bit off, so I actually prefer her to be with Pepe. You have Olandria and Nick go to Speakeasy, and they were very anxious, it seemed, because they were just talking and they were talking around in circles. I don't know whether production was pushing them to go for a kiss or whether they were trying to sort of hide and kiss somewhere. It didn't make sense because they ended up going to the photo booth and then they made out in the photo booth. It looked cute, it looked authentic, it seemed like, you know, she was on board with it. Nick on his part was trying to be mindful of where he put his hands. I think he didn't want to do anything that made her feel uncomfortable. So seeing them together, really enjoying each other's company, I love it. So you have Amaya and Brian go for a chat in Soul Ties, and while they're chatting, they come up with a plan to sort of try and get Huda and Chris to speak, because they were both still upset with one another. So they come up with a little cute sign to notify each other that, okay, Brian was the first one who was going to take Chris and leave him at the dock, and then Amaya was meant to take Huda and leave her there. So it was cute. I really liked it. It was cute that they were actually able to pull that off. They were able to get Huda and Chris to go to the dock. I personally still don't understand what Huda doesn't understand, or what she's struggling to comprehend from what Chris is saying. Chris is just asking for fair treatment. He's saying that if you're going to be physically intimate with me in a room with about 10, 12 people, then be open to kissing me in public. Don't only want to do stuff once the covers are on. And for Huda to say that, oh no, I'm not trying to be difficult, it's just I want to maintain, you know, our relationship and keep it private from everybody else. It's like, Huda, then stop having sex with him. That's it. Just stop having sex with him, and that's the end of it, and he won't complain. If you're going to have sex with him, then be open to having intimacy in public, because you're already having sex with him in public, so be open to kissing him as is requested. He's not asking for a lot, he's just asking for clarification as to why you won't do that, and I didn't understand why she continued to play dumb. You then have the islanders, they're all just relaxing all around the villa, and they receive a text message that the hideaway is open. They nominated Ace and Shirley. Ace and Shirley were excited to go. What do I think? I think, yeah, the right couple went. Iris was moaning in the background that she wanted to go with Pepe, so it's a pity she didn't get to go. I don't know whether they have enough time for every single couple to go, because it's towards the end and people have only settled in their couples a few days before the show ended. So Ace and Shirley, they looked really cute. I loved Shirley's outfit. I thought that was really cute. Them going to the hideaway, and then Ace sort of coming up with that heart and whatever, and the stuff he had written down for her. This is what I'm going to say. This all seems very staged, because Ace, you can actually see his journey coming into the villa. He wanted to explode anybody else but Shirley, and he wanted to make it seem like he had definitely tried every single couple and things had failed, including coupling up with Amaya. I believe that was part of his grand scheme, that he was going to couple with Amaya, but there was going to be nothing romantic there. And so now he's at a place whereby his friend asked Clark to be exclusive. He is now asking Shirley to be exclusive. Do I think it's genuine? I don't know. I really don't. Because he spoke about the fact that they met before they entered the villa. He read this little poem, and then he met her again when he came to Love Island. He didn't expect to see her. And so they're in this space where they are very happy. If he's happy, we love it for him. But somehow, something about them doesn't ring genuine. I know I might be overanalyzing. I remember I had the same feeling about Timmy and Zita, and I'm getting the same feeling about Ace and Shirley. If they're genuine, I love it. I root for love, so I can't wait to see what happens. Thanks, guys, for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 32. Bye, guys.